This Carolina Panthers team preview edition of the Sports Gambling Podcast is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy. Underdog is giving away $15 million in prizes, a part of Best Ball Mania 5. Head over to underdogfantasy.com. Use the promo code SGPN to claim your first time deposit offer up to $250 in bonus cash. Underdogfantasy.com, promo code SGPN. We're also brought to you by Rhythm. Rhythm has the best AI picks and projections, and their college football product is about to drop. Claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM.
Hey, this is Derek Stevens. I'm the owner of Circa Las Vegas. You're listening to SGPN. Let it ride.
Cox. He's one of those guys who will get penetration.
Welcome everyone to the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green with my partner in picks, Ryan, Real Money Kramer. What's happening, Kramer?
Dog. So so excited to talk about another top of the market team in the National Football League. I forgot how much of a bummer it is to talk about the crappy teams first.
Well, it's a good appetizer, Ryan. And who says they're crappy? We have not weighed in yet on what we think of this year's Carolina Panthers. We've already gotten the Denver Broncos, the New England Patriots. Those team previews already dropped. And of course, if you're playing along with the phrase that pays, you already have two words put together, and today's episode, today's word for the Panthers is the is today's word. So again, stack all the words together. It is 32 words, forms a phrase. After the 32 NFL team previews, you will submit that phrase. One lucky winner will get a $500 Circa NFL ticket. You use it on whatever you want. I just mailed out a couple of Circa tickets or last week, Ryan, from the Patreon winners. One gentleman had Xavier Worthy, a rookie of the year. Another guy had the Royals to win the World Series, Ryan. So
I'm gonna make a statement. No more non-football futures going forward.
Well, for the team previews especially, I said a Circa $500 NFL future only.
Honestly, be careful talking about baseball because I aggressively mute people on my feed that have any sort of baseball.
You didn't talk about Paul Skeens. He's good. I don't know what else you want from me.
I accidentally muted Munaf even. Not Scott, but Munaf actually got caught in the mute filter.
Well, also there was one gentleman, and I'm blanking. Feel free to hit me up again if you're listening. Remind me what your exact parlay was, but it was like 4 different championship futures.
Oh no!
And the Circa is great because it pays true odds. Again, if you're actually going to put down a crazy parlay, you really owe it to yourself to get out to the Circa and get down over there. It was like a 4-team. I'm sure it's like his 4 favorite teams all winning a championship.
It's not going to happen.
100 to win 191,000.
Here's the crazy thing: is that you're already going to remember that year. Imagine also just putting a 200K on top.
Oh yeah. I mean, my biggest regret is when I won 200K on the in 2017 week 1 in basically with my Eagles roster, Carson Wentz, Zach Ertz stack. We all recall it. Eagles defense breaking all the rules in DK Millie Makers. Not just taking all 200K and letting it ride on the Eagles Super Bowl. That would have been electric ride. Instead, I was a pussy. But
did you let any ride?
Well, I ended up betting a ton for the actual game, but I have every time I've bet the Eagles to win the Super Bowl as a future ticket, they have not won. The one year I took a break from it, 2017, was the year they won.
So you mean to tell me the year that you won 200 grand was also the year you didn't recklessly bet on your own football team?
In the future market? No, I did not, but I did bet a ton on the actual game itself. Money line.
Good for you.
Oh, that was a sweet cash.
Can confirm I have made some reckless bets on the Giants this year. So stay tuned.
Any positive bets are reckless bets in my mind.
You seen the price for Malik Neighbors Offensive Player of the Year? It's ridiculous.
Wait, Offensive Player of the Year?
It's ridiculous.
I mean, Rookie of the Year.
Well,
That's,
Sean, if you're gonna, well, that's also a ridiculous price. But if you're gonna play the ceiling, you might. What do we teach people? You play the ladder. You gotta, stretch it all the way to the roof.
Ryan, you might need you're gonna need a spotter on that ladder because that thing is a little high. All right, so we're here to talk Carolina Panthers. Quick recap: 2023, they totally sucked. 2-15 straight up. Their win total was 7.5. You and I both predicted the under. That both of us cashed pretty easily.
Because if you go back and listen to our way too early win total episode, which we did, I believe, from the stadium swim outside.
Oh yeah,
we were both like, I just remember thinking what, like, and I just couldn't believe they thought Bryce Young was so good that his win total should be 7. In hindsight, seeing that his win total was 7.5 is absurd. And what I like most and what I remember most about this is how we were not amongst the public with this opinion. We were very much the contrarians. Frank Reich was going to fix everything. They had this genius.
Remember when Frank Reich was a good coach?
They had this genius offensive staff that was going to, maybe the staff wanted CJ Stroud, but that's a different story. And it couldn't have gone worse. And so which now those same people are circling back around and saying, well, couldn't possibly be worse. Every regression indicator known to man suggests this team has to get better, right, Sean? What have they changed? Why do they have to get better? What has changed? Is the quarterback the same? Yes. End of conversation.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going through and thinking of ways to be positive, ways to be optimistic. You know, making that bull. I do when I look at these teams, with the exception of the Cowboys. I like to look at like, hey, everything goes right, everything goes wrong. Reasons to be optimistic, reasons to be pessimistic, and kind of see which I'm gravitated more to. I mean, even in a season where you're 2-15 and the market hates you, they didn't even do well ATS. They were 4-13 against the spread. Like that's, I mean, it's tough to be that bad. If you just faded them ATS every time, imagine 13-4 just auto fading a team.
That's
and
not generally that like we would discuss that as an extreme outlier.
Yes. Very extreme,
especially fading, right? It's like it's in some ways it's almost harder to do that than to go 13-4.
Well, and they were bad, but they were historically bad. Panthers had 4.1 yards per play on offense, was the single worst figure in a season for any team since 2008. If you're optimistic about Bryce Young, you go, oh, hey, he was the #1 pick overall as a rookie quarterback. Give him a break, Ryan. Bryce Young's negative 0.1 EPA per dropback last season ranked 53rd among 61 quarterbacks with at least 150 dropbacks in their rookie season since 2010. Yeah. So even if you just isolate it to rookie quarterbacks, he was 53 out of 61. Now that includes guys that were crazy late rounds, your Tommy DeVitos,
Tommy DeVito has much better. I would rather have
completely.
He's won games. He's won like meaningful football games. He beat Jordan Love at home in prime time.
This was a this was a stat. Again, shout out to Cleve TA, free guide. This was a nugget I came across that it just blew my mind. The Carolina Panthers did not hold a lead in the fourth quarter of a game the entire season. How do you do? Their 2 wins came on the last play of the game while trailing, and the latest they held a lead in a game was with 4 minutes left in the third quarter against the Vikings. That's insane, right? Well, that's insane.
It's a good to pause there because people love to do the close. All right. Well, they played in 8 close games last year. They went 2-6, so they have to regress, right? Well, actually, their win share in those fourth quarters suggests that no, I don't think they are due to regress. If anything, they were lucky to get the 2. And so, how do you process that as a data point? No different than the injury data. Sure, they have to get less injured, right? I don't know. Is David Tepper still the owner? Maybe he's cutting corners down there. I think you said, what's the bull case?
Yeah.
The bull case is you pull up Jared Goff's second year in the NFL.
Yep.
Because he wasn't very good as a rookie. The difference was he only played 7 games.
Yeah.
Which is a much smaller sample size.
And two, I would say with Jared Goff, not being high on him, saying Jared Goff sucks.
Yeah.
You know, for me, it was about him and seeing the field and processing. And I obviously some of that was the offense he was in. He developed some good skills and he got pretty good coaching. He got good offensive line play. To me, the problem with Bryce Young is he's too tiny.
He wasn't physically limited.
He like it's a size thing. I don't know. And to their credit, they are building up the interior line, trying to do what the Saints did with a shorter quarterback like Drew Brees. But I don't know, man. He really needs a massive improvement. Ryan, you come back to their what they should have won game wise. Their estimated wins. So okay, 2-15. Maybe they were just unlucky. Blah blah blah. Their estimated wins are 1.3. So they exceeded their estimated wins. And
then this is another good way to pause and you'll see Pythag and some of the other metrics, EPA maybe, give them a little higher number there. And that's just the difference of like studying a team and their like play to play efficiency versus more looking at the win share. The estimated wins is looking at how close were you to winning these games. And it's not surprising that things like Pythag think they should have won more games, but to see an estimated wins below 2 is pretty impressive. I mean, as you know, Sean, these curves, they tend to not actually get to that 100th percentile. So to get near it is very impressive. But yeah, the bull case is that Canales is McVay, which I could see the parallels there. As I listen to more Canales,
well, you can see Sean McVay having trouble with certain vices, like Dave Canales had.
Yeah, like not cheating on his wife.
No, he didn't cheat on his wife. He was addicted to internet pornography and masturbating.
Yeah, which in that church was cheating on his wife. Goff had a good year coming out in that second year, so that's what people will point to.
That's like if you're a Carolina Panthers fan, that's what you're telling yourself when you go to bed at night, dreaming of a positive season, things turning around. That's what you're thinking about.
I think you're also pointing to the addition, like a lot of we should pull up the additions, because I think you're also pointing to, hey, like this was an area of deficiency. Look what we did. We brought in receivers that can get open in Deontay Johnson, Xavier Legette. We brought in a playmaking running back, although unclear if he's going to be himself. Yeah, and
even Jonathan Brooks, you used a ton of draft capital on a running back coming back from a really bad injury. So, I mean, which I guess is fine if you're not going to really play him this year. This is probably more a fantasy conversation. Like, if you're trying to build down the line, I don't like high-end running back talent is something that's a luxury. If you're close and you're a contender, hey, sure, sign Saquon Barkley, spend a little money. But I don't understand using that much draft capital for a team like the Carolina Panthers. You need fucking offensive linemen. You need guys who can sack the quarterback. You just lost Brian Burns. Who maybe not as
got fleeced by Joe Shane.
Maybe not as amazing as you'd expect. He only had 8.5 sacks, but you need something to. I mean, I don't think I'm not as high on Brian Burns probably as Kramer, but he's still a competent pass rusher. And bringing in Jadeveon Clowney, who's had trouble staying on the field, he's already missing some time with some issues like. Where are they getting a pass rush to change what they did on defense?
I don't know.
And to me, the bull case, like why you would be optimistic, is just look at this nugget. 17 teams won 3 games or less, and also went on their win total by at least 5 wins. All 17 of those teams increased their wins the next season by an average of 4.7 wins, an average 6.6 wins. 59% of those teams went over their win total as well. So that would be the optimism of basically they were so bad off of market that the market adjusts and then they turn things around a little bit. It's hard to be 2-15 in back-to-back years, but Ryan, like where is any sort of optimism coming from this Carolina Panthers team?
Coaching staff. I mean, again, look at that. They turned the roster over in a hurry.
Yeah.
In general, let's compare this to college. It's great what they've done if this was a team resetting that already had a structure in place, had a culture in place, had a coaching staff in place, not somewhere where, yes, they kept the defensive coordinator, I guess, which is an interesting nugget, but everyone else is not only new, but in a new role, filling a vacuum, filling a void left because ownership and leadership in that building is not up to snuff of what it takes to lead a winning franchise. So you have to trust that Dave Canales can turn into a good CEO.
Yep.
You can also have to trust that he's going to be able to cut a good head coach, a coach of coaches. You then have to trust that he's going to be able to install an offense and call the plays and lean on his his promoted wide receiver coach, now offensive coordinator. It's just everyone's in a new role. Like the quarterback is in a situation he's never been in before. Bryce Young was good his entire career until he stepped foot in the NFL, and he sucked.
It's a confidence thing, I think, with Bryce Young to some degree, right? Look at these stats. Highest rate of incompletions due to inaccurate passes on passes traveling 10 yards or more, aka passes that are going to win you some games. Kenny Pickett 50%, Aiden O'Connell 50%, Bryce Young 49.1%, Jordan Love 46.6%, Gardner Minshew. We'll have Jordan Love. If you go back, I mean, we're not doing the Packers preview yet, but look at some of the quarterbacks that Jordan Love lost to. Interesting list to say the least. But Ryan, we'll get
not related to anything.
We'll get to the Packers when we get to the Packers. I think you just, and your point, Ryan, when you're talking about Canales as a CEO, as a culture guy, I think is huge, because what was the difference with the Rams situation? I think Sean McVay was a young, smart, intelligent head coach who was allowed to operate, turn the building over, do things his way, bring in that high powered offense, bring in that great play calling. And really, I think owners, the ownership let him do whatever he wanted. I'm worried that the ownership is so bad. Why were the Commanders, aka the Redskins, aka the football team, why were they so bad for so many years? Because of Dan Snyder, right? Like at some point when the owner is that bad, those decisions, shit rolls downhill. And I think even if you were a good head coach, I mean, Sean McVay was on, great example. Sean McVay was on that Redskins coaching staff. You have that photo of all those good head coach or, assistants who end up going on to be awesome head coaches, win a bunch of Super Bowls. They were in the Redskins building and they weren't successful. Why? Because ownership wouldn't let them succeed. And I'm worried if you're a Panthers fan, a Panthers backer, similar stuff is going on there.
Yes. I also, I did find it interesting this offseason. It made sense. There's always going to be teams near the bottom that the smart folk out there find an analytical way to say, hey, this can't possibly get worse.
Broncos.
There's no, look at all these regression indicators, adjusting games lost to injury, turnover, close games. But I was like, this doesn't make sense. This team sucks. The eye test, Bryce Young sucks. I don't believe he's going to regress. Why are these smart people getting on the Panthers bandwagon? And then I remembered this offseason, David Tepper made a splash like any horrible boss would do when they've made a complete ass of themselves and everyone's saying, you should do more of this in football. He went out and hired an analytics guy, Mr. Eric Eager, our friend from PFF.
Guest of the program.
So every fucking nerd now sees their leader, the Lord of the fucking nerds. We
can be football guys. Shout out to Eric. He was a good guest. Brought some fun takes.
Yeah, I mean,
congrats on the gig.
Sumner Sports or something like that. They're I guess they're like providing analytics to NFL teams, which needed industry. But if you think a nerd is going to go into a broken building and fix it, no, it takes years for him to fix what he can fix. He's going to fix the roster allocation. He's going to fix the fact that, a bad team already. Guess what, Sean? Do you think the Panthers are closer to the bottom of the league or the top of the league in dead money? Because they have 46 mil in dead money. I get it. They have a rookie quarterback, but that puts them in the bottom 10 or the top 10 in the league in dead money. Sure. He fixes it 3-4 years down the road if David Tepper lets him fix it. But when I realized this, I was like, oh, you slimy nerds. Great
nugget.
People are going to be misled by these spreadsheet guys. They're going to be like, Eric Eager's in the building. They need to do well so more of us can get hired. Anyway.
Speaking of spreadsheets, the spreadsheet Kramer put together for the team previews, amazing, great collection of all the information stats we use for these team previews. Shout out to the Patreons who get that. Carolina, one last nugget, and then we'll get to a clip, which makes me optimistic about the Panthers, at least entertainment wise, and maybe fantasy wise. Can the Panthers special team special team ace, Sam Franklin, out indefinitely. So even
you came to the show with a special team.
Yeah, and I think the fans are kind of out. I judge that from two things. One, a guy on the Panthers subreddit is selling his Bryce Young bobblehead. You can't give up, and it's a fucking bobblehead. His posting was, "I'm moving and trying to clear out some space. I need a couple extra dollars." You call yourself a fan? It's after year one and you're selling your bobblehead. How are you a fan?
Sounds like the kind of guy that might sell cheeseburgers.
That is just a horrible take, selling your bobblehead after one bad year. You're the one who's supposed to be believing. We're the outsiders. We can shit on the Panthers. You're supposed to be drinking the Kool-Aid. And this headline: Panthers special training camp practice draws sad amount of fans.
Well, you remember last year
it is very. I'll send the photo over to Josh if we're able to pull it. It's I mean, it's very unfortunate.
You do remember last year, right? When they had a silent protest. They were protesting ownership. The fans have already started organizing against.
There's a lot of blue there, and by that I mean blue empty seats. The guy who tweeted it said the fans here are about to outnumber the Panthers legend.
Oh no,
legends.
I mean, it's a nice looking stadium when it's empty.
Yeah. All right, Kramer. Let's
solid.
Let's get to the schedule before we do. Shout out to Underdog Fantasy. Already got a locked in play for a Underdog Fantasy Panthers season long pick 'em I like. A shout out to Lower, of course. Underdog. You get the 2 pick'ems. You get the 8 pick'em at 325x your money. Even if you can figure out a way to go 11-0. Remember, streak for the cash, Ryan. You get Underdog Fantasy, essentially streak for a cash. If you go on a heater on Underdog and go 11-0, you can win 100x your entry. Of course, Best Ball Mania 5, $15 million up for grabs, aka the only way to play fantasy football. Get it all over at underdogfantasy.com. And shout to Odds Jam. If you're listening to this podcast, you probably bet a lot, which means you always want to be betting the best number, and Odds Jam has you covered. First off, they got every sports book, US and Canadian, in there. Even your bet onlines, your Bovadas. They find you the best price. They find you arbitrage opportunities. Hey, you can bet, over 5.5 here and under, over 5.5 there, and then under 7.5 there, and you get a sweet middle. You guarantee yourself a profit. The arbitrage tool is legit, and they also have a new fantasy tool. So again, if you're looking to dominate Underdog Fantasy, check out their new fantasy tool. You get some plus EV plays, 7-day free trial when you use our link, and 35% off your first month. oddsjam.com, promo code SGPN. oddsjam.com, promo code SGPN.
It was called the March on Mint. It was scheduled for November 12th and it got canceled. So they're still unhappy and they can't
even get enough angry fans to march about how they're angry. That's how bad it is in the Pantherland. Kramer, let's shout out to CJ Sullivan, host of the Bottom Line Bombs podcast, made us aware of how amazing Xavier Legette's press conferences are. I knew Xavier Legette was country, but I didn't realize, Ryan, he was this country. If you're watching on youtube.com/sportsgambling podcast, the captions are pretty funny because someone used AI to translate Xavier Legette's press conference, and you'll understand this guy is just so country. Yeah. He's speaking English. I kind of think I know the words he's saying, but it's just so it's got that Southern draw.
It's the kind
his words are coming together.
If you're from the South, you would say this guy's from the South. You know what I mean?
He is extra South.
But I can run any route in the route tree. I feel that.
What was your first job? And you have a cool story about that? Your first day?
Are you saying for like the receiver from?
Working fast food or working?
Oh no. See, I ain't never had a job for real. I mean, in 2020 with COVID, one of my partners was working at KFC. And I went in there. He kept begging me to cook because I was just chilling at the house. I went in there about 2 weeks and I got on though.
Was it like this first day?
I have no idea what it sounded like. He worked at KFC briefly. They're asking him how mini camp is going. Hard not to root for this guy. Yeah. He's got a big smile on his face. He seems like a cool dude. I don't know if he's going to change the offense. And I really struggle to I mean, to me, the most damning part is the offense kind of worked when Andy Dalton came in. That one game where they gave Andy Dalton a little, they started Andy Dalton. They said Bryce Young was dealing with an ankle injury, and Andy Dalton was throwing it all over the place. He was throwing with anticipation. I almost wanted, now like some of the bets I was looking at to fade Bryce Young, I almost wanted to take like, oh, Bryce Young to lead the league in interceptions. The price isn't that great. And really he wasn't, the problem was he wasn't that aggressive throwing. He wasn't trying to throw guys open. He wasn't keeping his eyes downfield. He was feeling pressure that wasn't there. Like all that stuff is tough to overcome. Now, Dave Canales has his work cut out for him, and he certainly got a pretty good year out of Baker, but I think they had a lot better talent around them, and they had Todd Bowles, who again, maybe has had his issues over the years, but the guy still won a Super Bowl. So I just think it's a completely different situation.
Yeah. I mean, I would slightly disagree that I do think the idea that Bryce Young with a couple more pass attempts is able to lead the league, a couple more good receivers is able to lead the league in interceptions. Like
okay.
That bet certainly should be on the table for you. I mean, he threw what 10 or 11 last year in like you mentioned, he was insanely cautious, and I think he's gonna realize that he needs to, put up or shut up. I'm sure he's getting a year. If he sucks after this year, you got to move on from him, right?
Yeah, it's a weird time to.
But I also don't think he can lose his job to Andy Dalton. Strangely, because I do think they're gonna want to see a full year. I mean. I think ownership might want to, the guy who forced the team to draft him allegedly. Maybe he won't want to see him out there.
Like what is Andy Dalton starting some games for you do?
Nothing. That's why you don't do
it. Doesn't help you at all. He needs to develop on the field if this thing is going to work. And Andy Dalton going in for him is just delaying it. Like I almost understood it last year. Hey, he was a rookie. Give him a 1 game bye. Let him watch some film. Let him watch Dalton. Okay, fine. But if you're doing it in year 2, he's not the guy. Like and maybe we're going to be completely wrong. Eat a ton of shit. If you win the 32 NFL team preview Patreon. Or sorry, it's not even Patreon. It's open to anyone. 32 NFL team previews. If you get the phrase that pays, if you get all 32 code words, you get that $500 circuit ticket. You put it on Bryce Young MVP, Panthers Super Bowl. You have my respect. Because I don't see it at all.
If you were tracking the phrase that pays, where would you be writing it down? Would you have a journal?
Well, I'm an email guy, Ryan. Oh. I like to read my emails. I respond to them, and I use them for scheduling reminders. So I would just get a draft in my email and then just add each word each day. Google Docs is good. You got this. Yep. You got this mini computer in your pocket all time called they have a notepad there. That's a good one. And maybe we'll see how we actually collect these, but shout out to Big Blue, who I know is a huge listener to the program. We will allow paper entry. So if you want to
send in pictures of where you're tracking the phrase that pays, and maybe we'll reward you with we will give out people who want to mail in analog entries. You will be we will not will not go against you. Yes, please.
We'll send out our mailing address. You can send them in.
Love getting a handwritten note.
We have gotten some over the years. Shout out to the analog folks.
Definitely have gotten some before.
All right, Kramer, let's talk schedule, right? Any other notes you got?
No, I mean we overlaid a bunch of them, but we touched on the reinforcement of the offensive line. My issue with that is, okay, you paid a lot of money for a couple guards. Now what? Like, what is that? You're going to play bully ball? You're not going to be winning any games to play bully ball.
I mean, I like the idea of investing in the offensive line.
Sure,
I'll give them that, right? But people have them ranked 21st. Okay, that's actually, you look at their positional ranks. That's actually one of their better positions, and you need to give. I mean, Bryce Young with pressure period isn't good, but interior pressure isn't good at all. But it's easy to shit on, but at least O-line, I think they're doing something right there.
Paying tackle money for a guard, I don't know if that's worth it.
So win totals 5.5, make playoffs only plus 490 compared to the Broncos at plus 760.
What's the difference? Just divisional strength, I guess. Yeah, but I mean, in fairness, like by the odds, it's not that different between the Falcons and the Chiefs. As strange it is to say that out loud. I mean, the make playoffs price is one of the worst bets you can make this year.
At plus 490,
I can find you 25 better bets, 5-1 or better.
If the Panthers make the playoffs, you're talking
Canales coach of the year.
Canales coach of the year,
18 or 20-1.
Yep, 100%.
That's probably a better bet. That's actually probably the best bet then.
I think it's because their division price is 10-1, and they're 100-1 to win the conference, 300-1 to win the Super Bowl. But yeah, I mean,
that's also a good time to note that Bryce Young is not eligible for comeback player of the year. According to the new rules, he's 65-1.
He is. You can bet on him, but they seem to go out of their way to say that sucking was not a part of comeback player of the year.
Being bad is no longer something you can come back from. So. Yeah, I mean, just looking at these odds, it's like, all right, I can't. So we were just out in Vegas, and we're there enough to where we have made friends with some of the ticket writers at the Circus Sportsbook.
Love those guys.
And so I always like to ask a question or two, do some journalism type work, ask the hard hitting questions. And I did say, what's the team no one's betting on? He goes, oh, Panthers, easy. I don't think we've written one ticket for the Panthers this year to win the Super Bowl. I said, that's interesting. Because I've heard a lot of people with positive things to say about them. He's like, well, they're not betting on them. So yeah, I don't know. Maybe the schedule will change my mind, Sean, but I doubt it because they're underdogs in all 17 games, which is more than than the Broncos. And I think it's matches the Patriots. So how can you be excited?
Yeah, I mean, to me, going back to the Broncos, they are a bottom market team that I think has a better offensive line, has a better head coach, at least with coaching pedigree, has some top end defensive talent. I think has Cortland Sutton. I don't see a Cortland Sutton on this Panthers roster.
Xavier Legette.
Well, and maybe that certainly Xavier Legette has to be part of the formula of their success. And a legit home field advantage. I still think it is tough to play in Mile High. Certainly not quite what it was in its heyday, but still it is elevation. It's cold weather. They have an edge. I mean, is anyone worried about playing in Carolina?
No, in fact, I would imagine Carolina is going to have a lot of road fans. I mean, why not? If you're in the area, a little road trip to Carolina, watch your team play.
Carolina seems like a good place to live. Maybe hit up the
Sean. This is gonna be the game. This is gonna be the team where like teams in the area when they play the Panthers, it's gonna be it's cheaper for us to get a plane to Charlotte and get a $5 ticket to the game versus go watch the Bengals. Or Bengals are probably a bad example, but the Raiders play. Anyway, so. Going through the schedule, as I mentioned, 17 dogs. They do lose a home game to a trip across the pond, and another one of my pet peeves. Don't tell me they have an easy schedule if they're underdogs in 17 games. I get it. Relative to other teams, it's easy, but for them, it's not easy. That's why they're not favored in a single game. And they don't even have a great rest situation. They don't even have too many singular like advantage spots. Starting out at New Orleans, I will say though, if I'm ever going to be on the Panthers, I have no idea what to think of this one at
not touching this game.
Chargers, Chargers. Then at.
I mean,
home.
if I'm gonna NFL Week 1, am I really gonna have to pick Panthers +5?
No. Yeah. I think we might have to.
No.
We might have to consider that. So then they have Chargers at home, and then back to the road to Las Vegas, where a rare team that will not take over the Raiders Stadium, and then the Bengals at home. Yeah, you're telling me there aren't going to be more Bengals fans at that game than Panthers fans?
Yeah, I don't know.
What about the Chargers fans?
Oh yeah, come on, Chargers fans. They're not traveling.
All right, so they're catching more than a field goal or more in all these games.
Yeah.
We know the Chargers are a better road team than home team, so that's
agreed. And spot. I know you're not as high on Harbaugh as I am, but Harbaugh versus a first-year NFL head coach, I like Harbaugh's chances.
I in this scenario, I'd imagine Canales would be the one in the dumpster being called cheese by Harbaugh.
Yeah, I got out. Oh man, old school, all-time great movie.
0-4, or should we be pot? Which game are they winning? Which game do they steal?
Chargers on the East Coast, they could always mess that up. I mean,
Herbert's got some vibes right now. I don't know.
He does. You're Ryan. You're going to be in on the Chargers by the time we do their episode.
No,
at the Saints, I think that there are bad vibes coming out of Saint Land. Maybe they shock the world again. Week 1, week 2 is a total crapshoot. Go back and look at 2023, like week 2. The teams there's so many teams that start out 2-0 that end up not making the playoffs or look like dog shit. It happens. Or even week 1. It's a weird week 1 is one of the weirder spots. It always favors the dogs. Let's see. Bengals. I don't see it, man, even though it's early season. And at Las Vegas. I mean, I think Las Vegas is like a better version of this Carolina.
They can
Panthers
win one
team.
of those first three games, maybe.
Yeah.
Right?
I don't, it's weird.
Should we be optimistic and say 1-3?
I don't know which game it is, but just to try and not be such a hater, I'll say 1-3.
Oh, well, what if Bryce Young comes out that first game and just gets ragdolled?
No, I mean 0-4 is in the cards. I'll
go 0-4.
Okay. Because I have a feeling I'm going to be on the under. It's tough to really get high on them.
All right, next 3 road games here at Bears.
Okay.
Again, these spreads that we're seeing for the Bears just seem big every time. Falcons at home, at Commanders, at Broncos. Winnable games here. Winnable games.
I don't know. I mean, also you can look at it and saying 3 out of the 4 games on the road. The one game they have at home is against a Falcons team, which a dome team in that long Carolina grass, but I don't know. Like
Bears are looking ahead to London in this spot. Something to consider here. Atlanta has Thursday night football the week before, so they have a long rest.
I'm worried about the Carolina back end too. I mean, like a team like the Bears, who Keenan Allen feels like he could carve them up all day if a Dunze gets going. At Denver, I don't think they should. I think they need more than 2.5 points. Non-conference road spots at elevation. Looking ahead to the Saints, I feel like that could be a loss. Commanders, they could also be bad. But if the Commanders are going to win a couple games, you imagine they have Panthers at home circled as a spot where they gotta win.
They get one here. One of these 4.
I think it's 1-3 because there's 3 road games again.
Yeah.
So you have them 1-7, Ryan.
Yeah, that sounds right. All right, Saints at home.
Okay.
Then they go to Germany to take on the Giants.
Yep.
Then they take their bye week after the. I mean, again, they probably want an earlier bye week than this. Then they come off the bye and they have the Chiefs and the Bucks at home.
Ooh.
I mean, what?
Dave Canales revenge game?
Yeah, I guess. I feel like maybe Todd Bowles, that helps him more, knowing the offense you're about to go against.
How are they only getting 2 points against the Bucks? I mean, I get it.
Don't the spread seem wrong for the? I think there's a number of games here. Even the Giants, the Saints.
Ryan, the market is not high on the Giants. I got news for
anyone who's catching like the Broncos. Any game where they're not catching a field goal, it feels like they're being
plus side on this 4-game stretch. No true road games. 1 neutral site, 3 home games.
Well, yeah, the neutral site is in Germany.
Yeah,
it's a big road game.
They might go 2-2. But
oh, man, I can't wait to see the picture of Bryce Young holding a very large German mug that's just as big as him,
actual size, and it's a photo of the mug. I'll go 1-3. It sounds boring, but like maybe they beat the Saints and or Giants.
No, I think they can get a division game this year.
Yeah, no, I think Saints Germany game is going to be weird, and then Bucks.
Giants don't lose overseas. Again, the Giants don't lose overseas. It's in John Mara's contract.
Okay, so there's three games that are winnable there. I think they win one of them. I think that's a realistic approach.
What's the third winnable game?
I think the Bucks.
Oh,
I mean, I'm going to be on the Bucks, but
no. I don't think. I think the Bucks are going to own.
No.
I mean, yeah, the Canales thing. I certainly think. You think Baker likes hearing about how this fucking asshole made his career? Baker made Baker's career. Baker woke up feeling dangerous, not fucking Canales.
So what do you give him? 0
I'll
wins?
go 1.
1-3.
1-3.
Yeah, I got him 1-3. So I got him 3-9 right now. You got him 2-10.
Last 5
okay.
At Philly. That's a good spot. Dallas at home. Cardinals at home. Another team I like. Bucks on the road and at Falcons. I mean, all right. So obviously they're going to beat the Cowboys.
Yep.
And then what else?
And then I think they win one of the division road games. So I'll be super generous and go.
Yeah, I'll go 2. I'll give them 2.
2-3. Maybe they get a little momentum late. So I got them going 5-12. Take that under 5.5. You got them going 4-13, Ryan.
4-13.
Yep.
Feels high. You know what? Andy Dalton's going to get a start or 2 in there, maybe.
Maybe. I mean, again, if
what's the win total? 5.5.
So we're both on the
You're
under.
not getting this. Where are 6 wins on that schedule, Sean?
Can't answer that.
Find me 2 more wins. I was optimistic. You had 5?
Yeah. And I
Jesus
feel like I was
Christ, you were like
being generous,
fucking blowing roses up their ass.
Ryan, of course, shout out to Circa Survivor, Circa Million, $16 million in guaranteed prizes. Oh, there's a lot of people in the chat online. Oh, I know NFL better than you. Prove it. Put your money where your mouth is. You guys talk all this shit. You could win $6 million quarterly prizes in the hundreds of thousands. Survivor, 10 million guaranteed. It is awesome. Enter in Nevada, play from anywhere, and enter in Nevada. Why not come out for contest weekend, August 22nd through the 24th? Kramer and I will be there. Open bar events, blackjack tournaments, a lot of fun ways. You can see us. We'll do a live show, Radio Row. We'll be giving away some merch there, having some drinks with listeners, just getting fucked up and betting on sports. That's really what we're going to be doing. It's an awesome time. Derek's there, shaking hands, kissing babies. It's a super fun event. You can gamble on some preseason football. If you're not doing the contest, what are you waiting for? Circus Sports. And we have a deal with the proxy. So if you don't live in Nevada, no big deal. Nevada, sorry. Shout out to Jeremiah
Jesus.
who corrected our pronunciation. Nevada. If you don't live in Nevada, it doesn't matter. You get a proxy, and we have a deal with the proxy, footballcontestproxy.com, promo code SGP, $50 off your proxy. And if you're coming out for contest weekend, use the promo code SGP15 when you sign up for the hotel. Get you 15% off. So come out, hang out, have some cocktails, sign up for the contest, get all your NFL futures in, get you some paper tickets. It's going to be an awesome weekend. And of course, sign up for Rhythm. Their football products are about to drop. They've been dominating golf. Had some nice winners in the 3M Open. It is the go-to tool for sports bettors. You get, picks, props, projections. I cannot wait to start building all my custom NFL college football models. It's super easy. Yeah, they have like sliders with the different stats. Hey, this stat is really important in my model. This stat isn't. And then it backtests the data and tells you the results and gives you projections based off that. Or if you're saying, hey, that sounds like a lot of work, just to give me some winners, you can just use their models, and they've been doing really well. So claim your 7-day free trial today by going to sportsgamblingpodcast.com/rhythm. That's sportsgamblingpodcast.com/RITHMM. Kramer,
I was trying to find a positive angle on a thing for the Panthers. It's impossible. Can't even find a positive take on maybe a leading tackler prop.
Shout out to Cody Zeeb, fellow Patriots fan.
He's roasting you.
NASCAR Gambling Podcast saying, I know Negative Nancy was on for the Pats, but y'all couldn't find anything fucking hilarious being this high on the Panthers. 5 wins for Bryce Young. I mean, I don't even. It's funny that he thinks 5 wins is being high because.
Kind of is,
Ryan. Maybe it's just the fantasy content I listen to. That's and some of those like advanced people that are, or the advanced math nerds that are like, oh, this is the season, making the playoffs. I just don't. I don't see it. So maybe I'm letting some of their advanced analytics bleed in, and the idea that like they were historically bad last year, 2 wins. So. They're gonna bounce back a little bit. They'll have more wins than 2, I think, is a fair bet.
Oh, now you got the virus.
No, but I think 5. I think 5 is the ceiling. So I feel super comfortable on the under 5.5 wins. Ryan, what are some of the other bets you like to make in this market?
Well, I 100% think you have. Give me Jordan. I mean, you highlighted it with your stat earlier, but Jordan Love and Bryce Young to both lead the league in interception at 20-1. Those will both be in my pocket.
The fact that
he's gonna be like, to your point, he was hyper conservative last year, and I do think he's going to have to be more aggressive. He threw 10 interceptions in, he had like 500 and some odd attempts, and so even if that number doesn't go up, he's definitely going to be throwing the ball into stuff more. They went out and got a couple of receivers that hopefully induce a couple more throws out of them. And so, yeah, I don't think the offense is going to be very good. And I don't think they have to bounce back. Bryce Young was horrible. Why do I think this guy, are you hearing the people talking about how he's a dog, how he's grinding, how there's no pictures of his car first in the building. No one's talking about how I haven't heard a single player talk about how Bryce Young is going to get him there. I mean, I've heard more stuff about Sam Darnold slinging it in practice. Sorry, but yeah, I think the interception prop has to be in the range.
Yeah, you've talked me into it
because they're also going to be losing so much. It's like an opportunity meets just. I think tiny little man.
Xavier Legette, Ryan. Is there anything offensive rookie of the year? No, right? I mean, again,
I didn't. All right, so. I think people are getting excited because he's a fun character, but I don't know if I was excited about him coming out of college. I don't know if I thought it was a great pick when the Panthers took it. It was like, oh, interesting.
Yeah,
this is where they think they are as a team.
Yeah, I don't. To me, he didn't strike me as like a game-changing receiver. And again, mostly it's just I'm so down on Bryce Young at the quarterback position. It's hard to get excited about Xavier Legette.
Coach would be the positive.
I will say this. And I don't see any of his, over unders listed for yardage. But I do think Chuba Hubbard is going to have a much bigger role than the fantasy community would lead you on to believe. I think he's a guy you can fire on in like a best ball underdog draft super late because he's going to get a ton of volume early. Like I just don't think Jonathan Brooks is going to be the starting back. And then you look at the Panthers depth chart. It really is intriguing. Chuba Hubbard is listed as the starter. Miles Sanders is listed as the 3rd string with Jonathan Brooks 2nd string, and then Rashad Penny 4th. I mean, Miles Sanders, as much as I loved him in Philly, it does seem like he's a bit washed. I mean, I think they would probably cut him, but they owe him so much guaranteed money. He's just going to be on the roster. He didn't look very explosive. Last
Are we sure
year.
Jonathan Brooks is playing?
No, I don't. I'm not sure about that at all.
If they start 1-7, how much is Jonathan Brooks playing?
Well, and I think him starting on the PUP list, missing 6 weeks, and then at 6 weeks, if they're 1-5, are they really gonna turn him into like a bell cow back.
Why would you rush him back?
Understand that. I mean, again, I don't understand drafting him. I would have gone with something that like you need to develop a franchise left tackle, something like that. But instead, and they did spend the pick on Ekwonu a couple years back. Maybe he pans out. It's still a little early on him. Taylor Motton on the right tackle side, skeptical, but yeah, I think Chuba Hubbard is kind of, if there is a bright spot because of how down people are on him, I think there's maybe a little value, best ball, that kind of stuff. That's like the only optimism I can find here.
So Chuba Hubbard last year was only 88 yards behind Rachaad White, who had the lead in the division in rushing yards.
Okay.
For him to lead the division in rushing yards this year is 14-1. I know it's not quite juicy enough. It certainly doesn't match his price in the best ball streets.
No, it's like one of those, if it was 30-1, I think I'd be firing.
Only 80 yards. Granted, Bijan probably going to get more run this year. With the new management.
Bijan, I'm worried about. I still think Rachaad White is in a decent situation.
Oh yeah.
I mean, I guess I don't hate it, but I feel like you should be getting a little better of a price because maybe they do bring out Brooks. Man, it's just bleak for the Carolina Panthers. Oh, and shout out to Carl Restivo in the chat. If you have not tuned in to Carl's, checked out Carl's song, it is awesome. Love the song he created. Ryan, do we have that to play again? The hook has been, it's a real earworm.
Yeah, I got it.
The song that gets you back ready to celebrate football. You can get it on YouTube. We tweeted it out. The link is in the post as well for yesterday, or for the first team preview. Ryan, while you're getting that up, I'll give out my underdog play. This is easy. I mean, Bryce Young lower 18.5 passing touchdowns is spicy. It's spicy, Ryan. It's spicy.
But what did he have last year, Sean? He's probably pretty close.
No, he wasn't.
He had 11. I already knew that.
He had 11. He had 11 passing touchdowns. Where are these other passing touchdowns coming from?
I don't know.
And like, who, even if they get inside the 5, it's going to be handing off to Chuba Hubbard. Like, I don't see them throwing a ton inside the red zone.
I think, coming back to the interception price, they don't match. If you think the touchdowns are taking a huge step forward, I would also expect that the interceptions would, because there's probably more volume there as well.
Okay. Well, it can take a 7 touchdown.
Oh no, I'm with
jump.
you. I don't think it happens, but I think he tries.
Yeah,
that's why the interceptions work. So is that an underdog?
Yeah, that's an underdog. But again, obviously like it in the regular prop market as well. But we're just talking fantasy projections. Ryan, where does Well,
I got another. I'll got another underdog.
Put it this way: you know who had more passing touchdowns than Bryce Young?
A lot of people.
Jake Browning, Joe Flacco, Josh Dobbs. These guys didn't play full season.
A lot of these guys didn't play.
Desmond Ridder, Aiden O'Connell. Mac Jones is nipping at his heels. He didn't play a full season. Kyler Murray played half a season. He still had 10.
It was a tough year for him last year, Sean. It can't possibly get worse.
I don't. It might get worse. What do you got for underdog?
Again, he has to get better. That's the part no one's talking about. Everything around him changed. It doesn't mean he's going to get better. Jadeveon Clowney, somehow they're offering 6.
Oh, I did see this.
I mean, how many versions of this season have Jadeveon Clowney finishing the season with in street clothes on the sideline? This seems like one of the easier plays we're ever going to make. When is he going to be in pure pass rush mode? He had 9.5. He had 9 or 9.5 last year, and a good defense there in Baltimore. A couple years ago, he had 9 or 9.5, playing opposite some really good pass rushers there in Cleveland. Who is he rushing with here in Carolina? This feels like I'm not an IDP guy, Sean, but we're gonna take the lower on this one. Lower on, and this is much like yours. This is available widely in the prop market too.
Yeah, and
do we really think he's going to play every game this year? For a what did I have him 4 and 13?
No, I mean he strikes me as a guy who doesn't love football. I think is fair, right?
Wow. I mean, I don't want to question his love of the game, but I don't know if he's going to love playing for this team.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't. The Bryce Young sprinkle. That's the and I honestly, the more that I talk this out, the more that I think this is going to be a. We'll have to make a cash investment at the Circle when we get out there.
I mean,
Under, right? Massive play.
Yeah,
under.
this is. I mean, again, we'll be doing our locks, some of our favorite win total bets. We do those in the division previews.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
At some point we'll do them. Stay tuned.
We'll just do a bonus episode with all the locks, but man, it's tough to come up with any sort of optimism for this Carolina Panthers team and Bryce Young. So I'm on Bryce Young, lower 18.5 passing touchdowns. You're on Jadeveon Clowney, lower 6.5 sacks. Both like Bryce Young, most interceptions, sprinkle at 20-1, and Bryce Young, and under both on 5.5 wins.
I think this is the strongest win total for me so far.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty high on the Broncos. I think they're pretty interesting. I mean, the fact that the Carolina Panthers are plus 450 and the Broncos are plus 760 to make the playoffs, that's crazy. That pricing is crazy. Kramer, were we able to pull up Carl's song?
Yes.
Okay. I think good time to close it out there. Next up, the New York Football Giants.
Thank you for participating in the Sports Gambling Podcast.
I'm lukewarm on them this year, Sean. Lukewarm.
We'll let Carl's song play us out here for the Sports Gambling Podcast. I'm Sean, stacking the money green, and he's Ryan.
I've got a fuck ton of bets on some games tonight.
Good job, Sean. Panthers suck.
Kramer.
Kickoffs are starting.
Let it ride.
Better settle in. Maybe be here a while. Now let the games begin. Hey, DJs, it's time for some football. Who do you like? Shit, I like them all. What type of friend says gamble is a sin? Yo, if you know bet, you know win. Hey, DJs, it's time for some football. Self-control, bro. I just bet it all on Kansas City -10. Shit, I never.